Welcome to this next episode of YouTube, where we're featuring some accumulating snow. And again, this isn't our first snow of the year, but certainly the one that accumulated up to about 3 inches, so it was a little bit more significant. And this was filmed from the windows. We had already finished wolf care, and it's difficult for us to film during a snowstorm, or not really a storm, during a snowfall, from the inside of the wolf pen, because cameras get pretty wet and it gets pretty hard to see and focus. So we get some good opportunities for filming from the window, and this is where visitors are when they come to the center, is right through the observation window. So it's pretty much a similar view. And so what we see here is actually Bolts and Luna doing typical morning activities, jaw sparring, some submissive rollovers to each other, some chasing and kind of running. And the last episode, I talked a little bit about the immobilization. So as we had Luna down, we did draw some blood. Her vitamin D levels came back actually within normal range. So we're up to about 117 on the vitamin D levels compared to 78 in July. So that's improved. The only thing that is a little bit of a concern, the U of M wants to really look closely at the plate. It appeared to be there. It may be some issue with some of the hardware, and so we had a little extra blood. We did a panel on that blood to look at any white blood count issues. They thought maybe there was a infection that was maybe causing some bone decline around one of the plate screws. Her white blood count came back normal. Doesn't appear to be an overall infection, although there might still be some localized infection. So we're taking a look at that a little bit more closely, and again examining the x-rays. And the challenge is not, how do we, not taking the plates out. That's not the challenge. The challenge is, how do we manage a wolf during this time of the year when we know they're heightened in activity. And as you look at this footage, you see Luna just pretty much active, certainly not running around like a wolf who's having some issues, but you can't deny what x-rays show. But we have to take into consideration how is she interacting, and if we're talking about multiple weeks of recovery, how is that going to affect her as she merges back into the pack, and how are we going to keep her down for multiple weeks? This isn't a wolf who, is showing any problems or is irritated by anything. As a matter of fact, she's the irritant most of the time, as she grabs Bolts' leg there. So she's active, she's running, she's not limping. A little bit of stiffness, a little bit of soreness that we expect after she runs around like this. But again, we're in the middle of discussions. First of all, trying to figure out if it is an issue, because blood work's not showing that. Second of all, if we do have a problem, how are we going to be able to manage this for her and make this not just a health-related issue, but a behavioral issue and all the things that go with it. So we will continue to keep you posted as we know things. And again, it's been a lot of emails back and forth, and certainly we are very, very grateful that the U is willing to continue to look at Luna's case and try to help us through this situation with this wolf who's become very special to a lot of people. Other than that, like I said, the snow, a little bit, probably 3 to maybe 4 inches that actually fell, doesn't stay around very long. So usually if we're going to get footage like this, it needs to be taken at the time, because as temperatures during the daytime warm, and as the sun comes out, we've lost most of the snow already. So it was the first accumulating snow, but not necessarily something that's going to stay where we consider to be our first significant stay on the ground kind of snowfall. We've been feeding a lot of deer, a lot of beaver, and you're seeing a lot of hides that give a lot of opportunities for tug-of-war here. And Luna is very good at getting hides and trying to keep them and defend them, and that's her and Bolts next to each other. Luna's weighed in at 68 pounds, Bolts again about 86 pounds, so they both had about a pound gain this week. So it's slowing down a little bit, that growth rate, and we may be seeing Luna's maximum weight in the 70s. We don't really know what she's going to be when she reaches full maturity. We're continuing to feed them twice a day, and she's, as you can expect, appetites are increasing as the temperatures decrease, so that's a good thing for her. Recommendations are to keep her relatively on the lean side, though. So if there is stress on her muscle mass or on her bone density keeping her lean is going to reduce some of that irritation, some of that limping. So we try. Again, our goal is just to make sure she feeds and gets a good supply of food. She's, again, an active pup, and that's one thing you're seeing here is always into something, always investigating, always curious. You also tend to see her with Aiden quite a bit in footage, meaning she's really, and part of that's Aiden's being protected a lot by Aiden, spends a lot of time with Aiden, sleeps with Aiden. So there's a real strong bond there. That doesn't mean that she doesn't interact with Denali, but the relationship between her and Denali is quite a bit different, a little bit more agonistic. Luna has a lot of opportunities and does take a lot of opportunities to grab and dominate and try to, interact with Denali differently than Aiden. So, as I said, the snow kind of starts to melt, and we're back out in a few days later here, where most of it's kind of left bare patches on the ground. Aiden was doing a little bit of a face wipe there, and again, we just had some feeding of the pups, so there was a little extra meat in there that had been cached that Aiden was picking up. But you can see here the pack is interacting well and getting along well, and certainly we're not seeing any signs of anyone picking on any particular wolf or anything like that. I'd say just right now the cursory observations are that Denali's kind of getting most of the grief, and most of that started by Luna. But other than that, Bolt's being the bottom of the rank order, he's holding his own. We've had some times when he's taken advantage of Aiden, and Aiden seems to let him do that. But for the most part, Aiden's got pretty good control of this pack, and when Aiden gives a lip curl or Aiden does any kind of a threat display, everybody listens. So here's Luna on the left, Bolt's on the right, and then Aiden kind of in behind there, kind of interacting. So as we said, we've had a lot of discussions in the past probably 2 weeks about Luna and how she's doing and how we're going to manage her. I think one thing that we've all agreed upon, we've got to do what's best for her, and that includes the broad picture, what's best for her physically, what's best for her mentally, and what's best for her as far as pack dynamics. She certainly has proven that she can withstand a lot. She has taken upon herself the role of food possession in the pack, and is clearly one of those things that we look for in that dominant female, is someone who kind of takes the lead, and she is doing that real well. So we'll keep you posted. Like I say, we don't have any more information, so we're watching her, we're filming her, we're trying to figure out, okay, is there a certain time, is there a certain issue that's going on, and we mostly see an active pup, and that's what we see most of the time. So with the other wolves, here's Grizzer giving one of those challenges to people, wolf care, who try to film him, really sticking around pretty close and getting contact with the wolf care. So it's not a lot of footage from Grizzer this week. It was hard pressed to get him to stand away from people, so got a little bit of the view of his top of the den, but that was about it as far as greeting time. Same thing in retirement, and again, this weather triggers some real excitement, so it's hard to film when they're right in your face. But this is Shadow doing a greeting, jumping at the camera and kind of greeting, and then Malik coming over to do a little bit of a sniff and a little bit of investigation. You can see a little bit of cold coming out of their breath there. You see their breath in the air, and we probably had maybe 22 degrees when this was filmed, so it's definitely on the way. Winter's on the way, and these wolves really come to life. So this is about the time of the year when we are starting to see a little bit more increase in diet, and Shadow and Malik have done that. The deer that we had last week was totally consumed. We fed 2 or 3 beaver this week, again totally consumed. So we're seeing them putting on not only a significant winter coat, but a little bit of body fat and extra meat for the winter. And when we did film this, like I say, it was one of those early morning films where staff had just come in, so there's a lot of excitement, a lot of interest in greeting. But we did start to see, again, a little bit more posturing. And this is Shadow kind of being approached by Malik, and not real thrilled about that Malik approach that showed a little bit of a higher tail. So Shadow does a little bit of whirl around and faces Malik and asserts a little bit more authority. You can still see Malik holding his own. That tail is a T2, intentionally held, kind of straight back, and certainly showing that he's not willing to back down from an interaction. So Shadow follows through with a little bit more of a chin rest. It's these cold mornings that we really start to see these two interact like this way. But later in the day, you'll see them both laying in the den or laying on top of the den, utilizing the straw resources that we have, and really being fairly compatible. Like I say, this is just cold morning stimulus, winter time of the year stimulus, wolf care stimulus. It's there's a lot of factors that make them kind of engage this way. But you know, they're going on 12 going on 13. They're doing mighty fine. I mean, they're certainly in good health. They are active. These two can jump and greet better than anybody, so we're pretty pleased about that. So that's it for this week's YouTube, and again, thanks for watching. We'll keep you posted on Luna's condition, but as you can see from the video, she's an active pup, so we are happy to report that. Thanks again. We'll see you next week.